Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Fran Baxter, and I am the clerk of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Northborough Zoning Board of Appeals. And this is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. It's after the hour of 6 p.m. and I call the zoning board meeting to order. This open meeting of the Northborough Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible location. All members of the Northborough Zoning Board of Appeals are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows Northborough Zoning Board of Appeals to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. And now I'll take a roll call vote. And after I say your name, please respond in the affirmative if you're here. Okay. Paul Tagliaferri.
Here.
Brad Blanchett.
Here.
Mark Rattan.
Here.
Jeffrey Leland.
Here.
Susie Saliska.
Here. I just want to apologize. I'm driving right now, but I'll be back on show my video when I can.
Okay, thank you. And for staff, when I say your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lori Connors.
Here.
And Bob Federico.
Here.
Okay, and I didn't miss anyone. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So as I said, it is past the hour of 6 o'clock, and the first item on our agenda is the election of officers. And so I do want to just to frame this for people who may or may not know, but we currently are a 4-member board with 2 alternates for public hearing process voting only. The 4 current members are due to the fact that Richard Rand, who had served for more than 20 years, was not reappointed by the Board of Selectmen in March. So his term expired and his seat will remain vacant until the Board of Selectmen, following the Northborough Town Charter, holds another appointment process, application process, interview, and appointment. So until then, the 2 alternates will, at the leisure of the chair, participate in the public hearings so that we can maintain a 5-member voting board where votes are then 4 to 5 versus unanimous, or as needed, I should say. So that being said, I'm just the clerk, but I'm getting to wear the big boy shoes today. So I just want to know if anybody wants to switch shoes with me.
Madam Clerk, I'd like to nominate Mark Rattan as clerk.
Okay, but we have to start with chair, but.
Oh, chair. So you said change your shoes.
Oh, yeah, no, but, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm only the acting I'm only the acting chair. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So in that case, I'd like to nominate Paul Tagliaferri as chair of ZBA.
Mark, you're muted, but I can see your mouth. Sorry.
I'll second that.
Okay, all right. So Mark Rattan seconded, Brad Blanchett made the motion. Mark Rattan seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Brad?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Fran? Aye. Paul? Do you accept?
Aye.
Okay, there you go. All right. Well,
There you
Paul,
go.
I'll go ahead and hand it over to you because I think it would be a lot easier for me than to not have to ask for nominations for the clerk position. So I hand it over to
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fran. Thank you very much. Kind of big shoes to fill. So I guess if anyone wants to fill the clerk position or make a motion for the clerk position.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll nominate
Mark.
Brad as clerk.
And I will second that.
Okay.
Okay, so motion was made. Brad for clerk. We'll take a roll call vote. Mark Rutan,
Aye.
Fran Backstrom,
Aye.
Brad Blanchett,
Aye.
and Paul is aye. Okay, great. So it is, I think that is it for the first item on the agenda. So I think for the, for at least this meeting, while we just have a 4-person group, I think what we'll do is we'll alternate the alternate votes. So Jeff, I think since Susie is not here for this first one, you will be a voting member for this first hearing. So it is now past 6:10. So I think we can begin with the to consider the petition of Stephanie Bayless for a special permit and special permit with site plan approval for operation of a home personal service real estate brokerage on the property located at 22 Stone Drive, map 14, parcel 52 in the residential B zoning district and groundwater protection overlay area 1. And I believe Stephanie Bayless should be on the call. Jim, you're gonna have to probably help me out on this one.
Yep, I just moved her over. She is
Okay.
muted with her video off at the moment.
Okay. Hi, Ms. Bayless.
Yes.
How's it going? So I guess, just for starters, if you could just kind of give us a rundown on exactly what you're looking for and what you're, you're asking for with a special permit.
Sure. If I can I just wrote up a quick sort of summary intro.
Okay.
I own and live at 22 Stone Drive in Northborough. I'm applying for a special permit for home-based real estate office and have provided, I believe, all the required documents. I moved to Northborough to be closer to my grandkids and additional family and friends who live on the 495 belt. And also because Northborough allows a real estate firm as a home-based business with a special permit. I live with 2 small and quiet dogs. I'm a good neighbor. I improve and maintain my property. I'm the owner and broker of MA Homes LLC, a real estate brokerage licensed in Massachusetts. I got my real estate salesperson's license in 2009, my broker's license in 2014, and opened my firm in 2014. My reputation in the real estate industry is spotless. I'm on the board of directors of the Realtor Association of Central Mass, currently serving as secretary. MA Homes LLC is a virtual brokerage. There's no brick and mortar office. We're a small brokerage. The 3 agents that work with me all work out of their homes. I do not meet with clients at my home office. Occasionally, an agent may drop off a deposit check, but that's actually becoming less common as more payments are done electronically. I use my home office for online work, paperwork, and communications with clients, agents, and vendors. There's no impact to the neighborhood. There's no traffic. There will not be a sign, only the business name on the mailbox and a small drop box on the garage. And per the requirement of Kristen Black from the Board of Health, the garbage grinder that was pre-existing in the house has been removed and the permit's been signed off. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess we can start with any staff comments from Lori or Bob about the special permit. Do you guys have any?
I did not have any issues with the grant of the special permit.
Okay.
It seemed like it would fit well with the neighborhood and with the zoning district.
Okay.
I agree with Laurie. It's pretty benign. Stephanie talks about what's going on at the, for the residents. I've actually been out there for unrelated inspections on the home. I don't have an issue with it.
Okay. So I guess I'll just start with one question. will you have any like business signs up at your house or on your lawn or any sort of thing identifying the house as a business?
No, I actually don't want a sign. I'll just have the name on the mailbox and a small drop box. It's essentially a mailbox on the garage door for agents to drop off checks. But no, I'm not requesting a sign. I don't want a sign.
Okay. Anyone else from the board that has a question?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Brad.
Ms. Bayless, where are you currently operating your business today?
I have been in Broomfield. I just recently moved here, so I'm looking at moving the business. I
Gotcha.
worked it out of my house in Broomfield previously.
Okay. For the grandkids, that makes sense. Gotcha.
I'm sorry?
No, so you mentioned your summary for the grandkids, closer to the grandkids.
Yes,
That's all
they're in Westford, so Northborough is a lot closer than Brimfield was.
Yeah, hop on 495. And you're
Yep.
there. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else from the board with a question? Fran, is your hand raised? Sorry.
Thank you. That's okay, Mr. Chair.
It blends into your wall.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, that's a terrible color then. Anyway, I have absolutely no problem with it because I actually find it very interesting that home professional offices do not require special permit, but home personal services and real estate broker is considered a personal service versus a professional service, which is very interesting. And it probably is not unique to Northborough, but I do find that that's an interesting distinction. We don't have to worry about hours of operation. There's not going to be anything. It's just you. There's no employees. So yeah, so other than that unique distinction, I have no issues.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Brad.
Last
Yeah,
comment.
Brad, go
This
ahead.
is more for town staff. I have no issue with what Ms. Bayless is doing here. I'm just wondering though, because of COVID, are we going to see a lot more of these like home occupancy type permits, you think? I'm wondering if we need to update our bylaws, things like that. But who knows? Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Federico. Yeah, you have your hand up. No, you're muted, Bob.
Bob, you're muted. Yeah.
Okay, here I am. To answer your question, there's been a large influx of home businesses that have come to Northborough during COVID. Many of them do not need any board approval whatsoever. And those are the ones that you're not seeing. The only ones you are seeing where if you go into the use table, determines whether or not it's planning board or a ZBA special permit. And it is in some of these certain circumstances where you're seeing them. There has been a slight uptick because you guys have been answering more of that call. I anticipate that to keep going on, but most of them are going in as by right use. I do a zoning interpretation on virtually every one. And, once I fit the use into a slot or a category, that determines whether or not it has to go to the ZBA or planning board, or they can just move in and start working.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else on the board have any questions or comments? All right, so this is a public hearing, so we can open up to the public. I don't see anyone on the phone, Jim, but what is the, if someone is on the phone, is it to raise their hand?
I believe it's *9 to raise their hand, and then if they're calling in solely through the phone, then it's *6 to unmute themselves.
Okay. Okay, so at this time, if there's anyone in the audience that wants to raise their hand and ask a question or a comment, you could do so now. Okay, I don't see anybody. I don't know if anyone else does from the people in the audience. I don't really have any other questions. Anyone else from the board have any other questions or comments for the applicant?
None.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to close the hearing for 22 Stone Drive. special permit for realtors occupancy.
Second that.
All right, Brad made a motion to close. Fran seconded the motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Brad,
Aye.
Fran,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and Jeff,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bayless. We'll talk about this case probably after all the other cases as well.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the second item. Second item on the agenda is to consider the petition of Jeremy Russell for a variance for installation of signage taller than permitted on the property located at 326 Main Street, map 47, parcel 92 in the Business East zoning district. I believe Mr. Russell is the applicant, and I believe I see him in the audience. All right. If you can just unmute Mr. Russell at this time.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. All
Hi,
set.
how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. All right, so I guess if I'll also note that Jeff is going to be the voting member for this as well, since I think Susie is still in transit at this time. But Mr. Russell, if you want to just give us an overview of what it is you're looking for the variance for the sign.
Sure. My name is Jeremy Roussel. I'm the owner of Design Center West. Purchased the business. It's a 44-year-old business. It was in the Solomon Pond Mall. Purchased it in October of 2020. My wife and I moved it in January 2021 to this Northborough location. As you can see in the packet, the existing sign that's there, it has an impediment to traffic visibility and snow storage. So what I'm looking to do is first to add the address to the top of the sign that's existing and raise the sign up approximately 5.5 feet to allow for more traffic visibility and snow storage. We were planning to do a planter at the bottom, but have decided against that because that would again impede the traffic visibility there. We want to make it look nice with seasonal flowers and just low growing shrubs to make that area nicer.
Okay. I guess I'll just start with an initial question. So the sign that currently exists is already at 17 feet. Is that correct?
That is the poles, the black poles on the each side. That is 17 feet.
Okay. So currently the sign as it exists today does not is sort of outside the bounds of what our bylaws state, right? And that's why you're looking for a variance?
Correct. The black poles are existing. Those were there before I moved in. I believe the height restriction right now is to the top of the new sign that we had put in, where the blue and white lettering is. That is the height that it's supposed to be at right at the moment. And if you flip to the next page, you'll see pretty much what we're looking to do. Add our logo instead of all the words, because it's very hard to read once you're driving by.
Okay. I guess we could start with staff. Yeah, Lori.
I was kind of confused by this application, so I actually talked to Jeremy for some clarification as well as Bob. So it's my understanding that the black poles were installed prior to his arrival. We're not quite sure when that happened by looking at the file. So he installed his sign at the permitted height, which is 10 feet. So what he wants to do is he wants to install a sign that goes all the way up to the uppermost pole at the 17 feet. So that's the variance that he's asking for, because there was no record in the file that the poles had been authorized at the 17-foot height. There had been no record of a variance granted. So he's not proposing to install the poles even higher than that. So say at a 23-foot height. So I commend him for deciding to eliminate the planter. I was concerned about how that would impact the site distance. So I think that that was a great decision for you to remove that. And certainly putting the perennials at the base or the small shrubs, I think would be appropriate and would improve the look of the area.
Okay. Bob, is there any comments that you had on this application?
No, actually, just to echo what Laurie said, the poles have been there for quite a while. The poles do exceed the allowed height limit. But, the applicant wants to basically just take the existing sign and just slide it up the pole to the top to allow for better visibility on the bottom. It is, the reason why he's here is because it exceeds the 12-foot height of the overall structure and the 10-foot height of the sign. Those are limits that are set in the ZBA, in the zoning bylaws, I'm sorry.
Okay. So the relief that he is asking for is 7 feet?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Okay. And then, so I guess the picture I have, I don't know if you guys can see this, is this thing here, right, of what the proposed sign is.
Mhm.
And so
Minus
what
the
you said,
planting bed.
right, so the wooden box that's underneath won't be there, nor obviously will the bushes be there. So you will start, so do you have an idea on what is the height of the bottommost sign from the ground?
From the ground. So we're looking at, I want to say it was from the top, the address will be about 18 inches. The logo will be about, I want to say 57 inches. And then the next logo would be about 60 inches divided by the 3 other businesses that are inside the existing design center.
Half feet.
So
of
it'll
sign.
be about 6 feet, give or take.
Yes, give or take around that, looks like.
Okay. So based on this proposal, basically you will have 6 feet of clearance. There won't be anything there, no planters, no bushes, nothing from the ground to the bottommost sign. 6 feet.
Just minimal flowers and low growing shrubs just to beautify the area there.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll open it up to questions from the board. Does anyone have any specific questions for the applicant? Mark?
Yeah, just to further up your questioning, there'd be nothing you can consider an obstruction for a driver to see from the far side of the sign down to see traffic on Main Street then?
Yeah, there would be no impeding of the traffic. It'll actually open it up. If you look at the
Right.
previous sign, there's a white blockage of the lettering sign that's in the way. And there have been pretty close calls of some accidents out front of that area.
Okay, all right. And illumination of the sign at all?
It will be illuminated, yes.
On what hours?
Whatever hours are permitted to have it illuminated.
Okay, you're not looking for anything special?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Chair?
Okay. Yeah, Brad, go ahead.
Sorry, Fran. I'll jump ahead of you. So illuminated from the inside, or how will they be illuminated?
Illuminated from the inside of the sign, which is existing right now. The existing sign that's there that has all the words on it has interior illumination.
And what are your current hours? And are you, so, to follow up on Mr. Rattan's question, how are you planning on, what are the hours you're going to illuminate the sign?
We're open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It probably during the summer months wouldn't make sense to illuminate it because obviously the daylight hours. So I would probably extend it into the evening a little ways and have it turn off because there is a timer built into it. I can set it to whatever time it should go off and should go on in the morning.
Okay.
Whatever is allowed by the town.
Yep. Okay. Nope, that's fine. Thank you. And my next question is, so I was driving by there a couple times today. For lack of a better term, like the sandwich shop signage that you have at the bottom right now, that will be completely eliminated, right? It's like we just kind of stick the letters in at the bottom and things like that.
Yeah, that whole white area will be removed.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't like it there. It doesn't look good. And it's an eyesore and it's blocked. That's what's blocking the traffic visibility.
Yep. And just another comment, not a question, but I do believe what you're doing to this new sign does match the plaza where the neighborhood tavern is and things like that. It's very reflective. So I do like the continuity.
Okay.
For the record, but thank you.
Fran, I think you were up next. If you want to go now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Actually, Brad asked my questions. I just want to confirm both sides of the sign will be identical.
Correct.
And there's no moving tiles, no moving letters.
No
Stationary.
digital. It's whatever's on there is going to be the logos, basically.
Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, I think you're up. Had your hand up.
Yes, please. Thanks, Paul. So
Yep.
In the application, under variance, you had traffic visibility and snow storage. So it's hard to think about snow now, but are you thinking that you're going to be plowing so that blockage would still be there? Your sign's not going to be blocked, but the visibility for traffic will be.
No, what I plan on doing, since I actually don't own the property, with the plantings, we'll have an area that the landlord or whoever plows will not plow onto there. They'll plow around it. That's kind of what we're looking to do. So there's no buildup of the snow bank there, and you can see right through the sign.
Okay. That would keep that continuity and visibility going. So
correct.
Okay. Susie, I think your hand is up.
Jeff covered what I was going to ask about where the snow storage and if it would be stored where the sign is now, but it's not. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mark, it looks like your hand is up. I don't know if you had any other questions.
No,
okay.
No. Sorry, I'll click that. Sorry.
Okay. I guess just one last. I just wanted to circle back. So Lori, you had sent a questions, comments, and recommendations letter, and just I wanted to follow up on your second bullet, which you basically identify that the property identifies as one residential dwelling and one retail use. However, the proposed sign identifies two commercial tenants in addition to the design center. So Jeremy, is it just the design center west that's there? You have like tenant 1 and tenant 2. Like, do you expect there to be additional tenants there, or?
No, we rent the whole entire space. It's for the design center. There's no additional tenants, but I have another business that I work out of here called Flooring Resources, as you see it on there. And then we have two other businesses that we incorporate under the design center that I would want to put the logo on. That's why it says tenant 1 and 2 there.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Yeah, Brad, go ahead.
So you're going to have those 2 extra slots blank for now, correct? Or are you good? You plan on adding them as you add a tenant?
I won't be adding another tenant. I have those other businesses. I could put the logos right up there,
Okay.
but I haven't done that yet. When
Okay.
this was designed, it was designed for just to put the other businesses up there after.
Okay.
So I guess asked another way, it's not theoretically another tenant, it's just another business, but it's a
Correct.
business that you are running or owning.
Correct. It would be
Okay.
it would be a business that I own.
Okay. I guess, are there any other questions from the board at this time? All right, this is a public hearing. If anyone has any questions or comments, you can raise your hand. If you're on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand, and then *6 to unmute. I don't see anyone with their hand raised at this time.
Chair,
Yes, Fred?
I move that we close the public hearing for Prop 326 Main Street.
Second,
All right, Fran made a motion to close, Mark seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Fran,
Aye.
Mark,
aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and Paul is aye. Okay, thank you very much. We'll have the decision probably later this evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yep, you're welcome. All right.
So Mr. Chair, before we proceed, I do
Yep.
have a family commitment at 7 o'clock. Is it possible to recuse myself from the remainder of the meeting at this point? Or no?
Um,
Fran, I see your face. So what do you think?
Well, since you are the 5th person to vote on the 2 hearings that we just heard, my recommendation would be to discuss and vote on those 2 hearings so that we have the 5 voting members who were in attendance and were, yeah, that would be my recommendation.
So, okay, no,
And
that
then,
makes sense.
right, and then both Susie and Jeff would have to hopefully be able to attend and be elevated to voting members for the next 2.
Does anybody
Okay.
have any objections to doing that at this point, or?
I think that's a workable plan.
Okay.
If anyone has any objections, please let me know. I can suck it up and deal with it, but just want to make sure I don't want to step out of line, step on any toes, things like that.
I guess the only question I would have, Susie, are you available for the next 45 minutes or an hour or so?
I might just have to go off video again, but I can follow along if that's okay.
Yeah.
Stay on, but with my palm trees to look at instead of my face.
Okay.
I have all my paperwork with me.
Fran,
What's
do you
that?
have any objection to kind of throwing a curveball into this meeting?
Sorry, I mean, just because I'm the Robert's Rule person, I guess. I would think if there is no objection and since we're on Zoom, we take a roll call vote, that instead of Brad being a voting member for the last 2 hearings, that Susie attests to the fact that she was present and able to follow along. She had opportunity to ask questions, and she and Jeff will be the voting members along with myself, Paul, and Mark for the entirety of this meeting and the 4 public hearings would be my recommendation. But I'll defer to staff if they want to weigh in, or, that would be my opinion from a Robert's Rule standpoint.
I would recommend that you vote on the first 2 hearings now, just in case, because Susie wasn't wasn't necessarily available for all or a portion of the other two hearings. So if you folks could just go ahead and vote on the first two, that's what I would recommend.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with that if everyone else on the board is also fine with that. So,
If there are any objections, please let me know. I do appreciate your flexibility.
Okay.
yeah, I think that's fine. So I guess, I don't know if anyone wants to start with the first case, 22 Stone Drive. Yes, Mark?
Okay, on 22 Stone Drive, I don't see any real controversy here. In fact, she's made a strong point that no one's really going to be stopping by the house, so there's no extra traffic. It's simply that she's set this up as a place where she's going to be doing business, but there's no impact to the neighborhood. There's no, I mean, I just don't see any controversy on this, other than the same thing would happen at a normal residence of people stopping by.
Mr. Chair.
Does anyone else? Fran? Yep, Fran?
I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
concur. I don't think that there are any special conditions or restrictions that would need to be put on this special permit with site plan approval.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments?
I mean, yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Brad.
She could probably have done this without even going through the hoops,
Right.
you know, doing this on her own. So I commend her for doing it the right way and asking permission of the town. And like my comment was, I just have a feeling we're going to see a few more of these now, you know, with the new, you know, this is how we do business now with COVID, just working out of your home. So I have zero issue with this.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess what I would say is I would second all of that. I mean, it doesn't seem like she's going to have any extra signage up. It's not, you're not even going to know if she's running a business from there. No clients or customers are going to be visiting her house. I don't really see any other issue with this. Susie, your hand is up.
I was able to listen in and everything, and I agree. And I mean, she could be running her business and we wouldn't even know it, basically, without the sign, without people dropping by. So I agree that I'm happy that she came forward, but I don't think it would have any impact on anybody. If I could vote, I would for it.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we allow a special permit with site plan for 22 Stone Drive to allow the conduct of this realtor business.
Second,
Okay, Mark made a motion, Fran seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Mark,
Aye.
Fran,
aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. Okay. There's 22 Stone Drive. All right, so the next case is for the variance of an installation of the signage at 326 Main Street. Does anyone have any comments or? Yep, Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, so my main concern was because originally with the way the permit read, it was, you know, easing traffic, making traffic a little bit easier. And the fact they're getting rid of all of that shrubbery at the bottom, for lack of a better term, makes total sense. And the comment that I did mention is it is in harmony with the sign that is at where neighborhood tavern is. So there is continuity, and so they're not changing the sign because obviously we don't have records of it, but those black poles are still staying in the same place. They're just raising it up a little bit. So no objection here. I think it's going to improve the landscape.
Okay. Fran, I think you had your hand up.
So, I mean, I have no problem with it. It does look much better. But out of respect for the conversations that we've had over the past year over internally lit signs and how we're trying to get away from them, I would want us to put some type of time restriction on when they could be illuminated. He said that there wasn't going to be a long time, right? It wasn't going to be a lot of hours, but in the same token, during the summer, they probably never will be lit because his business, Bob's going to say we can't do that. I don't know. But anyway, that would be my recommendation if we can do it, to say something about 2 hours before and 2 hours after, dusk or something like that, just so that we are respectful of the fact that they would not be on at 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and just to confirm, his hours of operations were from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is what he said. Bob, yes, you have your hand up.
Just to clarify, Mr. Chair, the base rules for lighting of signs in Northborough is the signs need to be not lit from midnight to 6 a.m. If you want to add further restrictions on that, that's up to the board and their conditions and when they grant a special permit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So then, Mr. Chair, then I would want to, because I would like to try to ease us out of that addiction. So if it's businesses from 10 to 6, I think from 8 in the morning to 8 at night as needed, right? Obviously, again, it won't happen during the summer, but that would be enough during the winter hours. If that would be my recommendation.
Nope.
Okay.
I agree.
Does anyone else have any, Jeff? Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to have some form of condition or statement that the bottom 6 feet would remain open and visible, no plantings, and to the extent possible, snow not be piled up to block the viewing for traffic.
I agree.
Same here.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I could see that with his ground plantings, that you could have something growing up. I would not object to 18 inches of ground plantings around the sign to pretty up the space. But yeah, I agree otherwise between both the visibility for traffic and also the 8 to 8 sounds like very fair with what he's given us. And if they want to extend the signage by some other tenant, they can come back to us.
Okay. So I guess I would say, or does anyone else have any other comments? I guess what I would say is I do agree that we should definitely limit the hours of internally lit sign beyond from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sort of the 2 and 2 on either side of his operating hours, I think is a reasonable adjustment. I do like the fact that the bottom 6 feet is clear of obstructions. I don't know if we need to be as specific as 18 inches off the ground or can just say ground plantings, but I think we all are on the same page in terms of what we are comfortable with in terms of as far as the plantings that go underneath the sign. So yeah, I think those, I don't know if there's any other conditions that we had listed, but those are the two that I had. I don't know, Lori, if you have any color on what we can say in regards to underneath the sign. Should we just say we should be clear of snow and anything larger in terms of plantings there, I guess? Or is there
Honestly, I do like the 18 inches because
Okay.
I think that's clear measurement for everybody. That 18 inches of plantings is okay, but anything more than that is not okay. So I think if the majority of you folks are okay with the 18 inches, then that at least removes the doubt. So he can think of the 18 inches when he goes to the nursery and picks out what he wants to plant
Okay.
there. And of
Okay.
course, that's only during the growing season. So assuming that he's going to plant annuals and perennials for 6 months out of the year, there will be nothing there.
All right, so yeah, so I guess the hours of operations from 8 AM to 8 PM, the no snow to be piled underneath the sign, and then 18 inches of plantings in terms of the conditions that we would be voting on. Does anyone else have any other comments or feedback?
Just for clarification, Mr. Chair, 8 to 8 for the
Yep.
signs being lit, not for the business operation.
The signs for being lit 8 AM to 8 PM.
Thank you.
Yes. If he changes his hours, it doesn't matter. It'll be,
Okay. Well, then, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the variance for 326 Main Street for the construction of a sign beyond the 10-foot maximum to 17 feet, or we said 7 feet of relief, with the following conditions: that the internally lit sign be lit between the hours of 8 AM and 8 PM, and that the planting under the sign shall consist of low-growing shrubs, perennials, and annuals that do not reach the height of more than 18 inches.
Second.
all right, so Fran made a motion, Jeff seconded it. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Fran,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay. That closes that one. All right, Brad.
Everyone,
you're
I
all set.
appreciate your flexibility. Thank you very much for kind of doing something a little different. But you learn something new every time, I guess, right?
See you, Brad.
See you next month. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Hi, Brad. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is to consider the petition of Jessica Miller for a special permit and special permit with site plan approval in the groundwater district for the operation of a home personal service on the property located at 62 Winter Street, map 42, parcel 10 in residential C zoning district and groundwater protection overlay area 3. And is Ms. Miller on the call? Oh, there we go.
I am.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Okay, so if you could just kind of give us a rundown on what it is you are looking for.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to thank the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals Committee for your review and consideration of my application. I appreciate it and the opportunity to present this evening. I have been a resident of Northborough for about 15 years now. When I first moved to Massachusetts, I rented on East Main Street, and I've been a resident in my current home for almost 13 years now at 62 Winter Street. I've been teaching yoga just about as long. I'll be 15 years this November. I'm also a Reiki master and certified postpartum corrective exercise specialist. I have been teaching at the Core Connection here in town for the past 10 years. So I have a well-established rapport with the community. I'm very passionate about holistic wellness, women's health, and I believe that my home business would add value to our community as well as align with the values that our community already has. So when I submitted my zoning request form, it was determined I would need 3 permits, one for the groundwater, a special permit, and for site plan approval. I met with the groundwater committee earlier this month, and they unanimously approved my permit with the condition that I wouldn't be expanding my driveway or making any changes to the structure. So as you can see in the application, I just want to underscore that I'm not requesting any construction or any change to any existing structure or my property. The purpose of my application is to use an existing room of my home for private yoga, Reiki, and postpartum exercise appointments, as well as to hold outdoor yoga in weather permitting months between like May and September. And I have attachments to my application to support this. One being for the inside, there's a schematic floor plan of my first floor that shows the relationship of the room that I would be using with the rest of the first floor, outlining windows, doors, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and overall square footage, of which for the room in question is 190 square feet. As far as outside, I have a GIS map, pictures of my yard, as well as pictures of my driveway. And I've also included driveway measurements, taking into consideration the standard parking space and the overall square footage of my driveway. I figure 9 cars could fit into my driveway. There would be no street parking permitted. So I've also provided a template of, the website that I would create, which would require pre-registration for, and this is just for outdoor, like pre-registration for a class that would allow for like a parking policy, as well as indication of driving or, carpooling, walking. In this way, we would limit the number of cars to what's allowed in my driveway. Inside would be private appointments. So for Reiki, it's one-on-one, postpartum or yoga, semi-private or private. So you're talking, no more than 4 at any given time, if that. And in addition to that, another attachment to my application is a letter of support for my neighbors, of which I've received signatures of my neighbors that are on the sides of me and across from me, showing their support of my request. I would not have any employees. And as far as sign, I really didn't intend to put up a sign. I know I'm listening, but I'd be open to whatever the requirements are for the planning and zoning board for something like that. I would probably do maybe something on my, like a little plaque on the house or something like that, but I wasn't really, intending on having any big sign in my yard or anything like that. So, anyway, thank you. And I open up and welcome questions.
Okay, thank you. So what would the hours of operation be?
So I have 3 kids, so I'm very busy. As far as outdoor yoga, I would say, maybe 2 classes a week. I'd be more around like the weekend, maybe I really, it wouldn't be like not going to be holding like continuous classes throughout the week or anything like that. As far as the private appointments go, it would really be, it wouldn't be like a continuous, it wouldn't be like late into the evening. As far as the outdoor yoga, it wouldn't be like past noise time. Wouldn't be noisy doing yoga, but I don't know. I guess I would be within whatever the boundaries are for that, but usually for the weekend, it would be like a morning class. And the classes are typically between an hour and 15 minutes. If I did like an evening class, it would be before, it certainly wouldn't be too late into the evening or anything like that. So, but to potentially align with hours for people after work, I would say like 8 would be like the latest. But I have to admit, like just kind of going through this, I haven't really, it's not like an ongoing, business where in the sense where I would just have people coming in and out. I would have like established classes set up during the week. I know it's kind of a long way to answer your question, right?
Okay.
I haven't established it yet, I guess.
So you basically would have either classes outside where you could potentially fill up 9 parking spaces with people, right? Or you're doing, private appointments in your house in sort of the side room here, right? And
Exactly.
the classes would be 2 times a week, right? Is that it could be flexible.
I guess I would
during
like
the
some
day?
flexibility just because, again, my schedule may shift. So I just, I wouldn't want to be like, I could only do 2 classes. Right now, if I
Okay.
looked at my schedule in terms of what I could fit in, but my outdoor classes, I would love the opportunity to have one, in the evening, in the morning, on the weekends. Typically, after people are busy in the afternoon. So I'm really kind of off the top of my head. So I wouldn't want to I'd be requesting that I wouldn't be restricted to 2 outdoor classes. But as far as the hours go, they're typically in the morning or in the evening after work, because that's usually when people can accommodate that. People usually aren't doing like a middle of the day, type of class. And then private appointments could vary throughout the day, just based on people's availability. But that would be different. It wouldn't be like a big, group class or anything like that. And the outdoor would be between like May and September, just like weather permitting timeframe.
Okay. I guess if we want to start with staff, do you guys have any comments or questions for the applicant?
I actually met with Jessica, so she answered my questions at that point. But I would recommend a condition of approval that would prohibit on-street parking.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess I'll also note you did go in front of the Groundwater Advisory Committee.
Yes, and there's a letter that should also, that
Right.
they just submitted, that they unanimously approved it. They just, again, said as long as I'm not making changes to the driveway or of the building, which again, I am not doing.
Right. And obviously you're not using any chemicals or potentially toxic or hazardous stuff
Nope.
in yoga. Okay. I guess if anyone on the board has any comments or questions, Mark.
Yes, a few things. How long do these classes typically last?
So typical yoga class is anywhere from an hour to an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay, and if you're running an outdoor class and a thunderstorm comes up, what do you anticipate happens?
Well, that's a very good question. I would anticipate that doing unforeseen circumstances by acts of God, either whatever people are comfortable with, I would imagine that they may have to leave and I could reimburse their money and we could postpone for another time. I have a garage that I could open and have people sit under, but to be honest with you, having kids who play sports, usually if thunder starts, they can't go back on the fields for a half hour. So that's what's safe for our children. I would want that to be safe for my students. So in that situation, since everyone is parked right on my driveway, I would probably just say it's probably best if they probably go home, and I'd be happy to reimburse them for, they could come back another time.
Okay, I mean, is there any idea that you would construct a tent outside and have the class underneath the tent or anything like that?
No, I would not do that.
Okay, and do you anticipate any of the any attendees being dropped off? A 15-year-old dropped off by their parents, say, so that they could, wouldn't have the ability to leave immediately?
That's a great question. Typically for, one part of your question, if there were people being dropped off, because part of my plan, as you can see in the template, is that they could indicate if they are driving so that we can limit the number of parking. But then there could be people who walk and there could be people who carpool, with somebody else. So in those situations, I mean, of course, I'd be more than happy to offer shelter until the thunderstorm, passed over or something like that. As far as, with the age that you mentioned, I mean, to be honest with you, I would probably, when I go to set up this app, kind of looking, these are great questions for me because, being this the first step for me to kind of go through. A lot of these details I know are going to be really important to consider. So candidly, you know, this would be my first time being a business owner. So there's a lot of details that I still need to, you know, figure out. I probably would have a restriction for under, you know, just minors in general. Usually, you know, even like in a studio space, you know, we tend to have some of those in place. So I would say I would have to, you know, either if they have a phone, they can call somebody and I keep them safe up until that point. But then at the same time, I think I would probably consider, you know, what my policy would be with minors in general.
Yeah, I'm not meaning to be discouraging at all.
No, you're not. I think I'm honestly like, these are really good questions. So I'm glad that you're asking them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. If it helps, I do have a detached garage that is a decent size. So I could always open up the garage and keep people protected, whoever could be protected. So nobody would be stranded and I'd have an opportunity for them. I mean, they were certainly welcome to come in the house too. You know, I wouldn't kick anybody out by any means, but as far as being within the professional boundaries of things, I do have, you know, a shelter that I could offer being, the detached garage is right there. It'd be certainly easy to use. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Susie, I think you had your hand up.
Sorry, my phone keeps like, it's hard to hit the button. Jessica, I thought your application was great. And I love that you showed the way that you would use the scheduling app or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I really like that. And I just wanted to clarify, like, you wouldn't be offering any food or any of that right now? Food or beverages for sale or?
For sale? No, nothing like that. I mean, I may have like tea or water or something as a, you know, like a nice ad or something, but no, nothing for sale.
Okay. That was basically my only question. I thought your application, I know you just said that you're thinking of all new things, but I thought it was very thorough. It's like things I wouldn't even have thought of. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, Fran, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I actually also liked your template as to how you're going to register people. It covers all the bases. So I do just want to ask, and again, I think it's a great idea. My husband does yoga and meditation, which helps his type A personality. But I don't like the music he listens to. Are you, does your outdoor yoga or classes, are you going to have amplified music?
That's a great question. The beauty of outdoor yoga is that nature is our music. So I'm not a big fan of outdoor music. I say listen to the birds. And if you have to hear someone mowing their lawn or a car go by, it's usually a challenge to stay focused. You know, my yoga teacher who I learned from, they practiced again across the street from a firehouse so that they could stay focused in meditation despite the chaos going around. So it's an added little challenge for the natural noise, but the beauty is the birds and everything else. So yeah, thank you. Inside I have some nice music, but outside nature.
Great answer. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Jeff.
So it seems like there's two pieces, the potential classes outdoors and then the one-on-one mostly indoors, but the office that you have set up 13 by 13, if Mark's rainstorm came, could your 13 people come in and do the yoga inside? Is that part of your potential business plan?
I mean, I would say, I mean, if they were okay with it, I'd be happy. I wouldn't say no to that. As long as you guys are okay with that, I would not turn people away and say, hey, come on in, you know, we can finish this, you know, inside. I certainly wouldn't say no to that. But if there was some restriction or I wasn't allowed to do that according to you guys, then I would say, you know, I wouldn't do that. But so I would be happy to have the option, but if, you know, I defer to you if that's not allowed or not.
Can I ask that question then to Bob? Is that part of what the special permit would allow?
In terms of number of people in the house?
Correct. And I
Um,
say that because like Fran's husband, I have done a little bit of yoga, and in many cases, it started with a home where it wasn't yard yoga, but it was someone had a room that was set up, and you can get, you only need 3 by 6 feet side by side by side. You could get a lot of people in 13 by 13. More than your driveway allows.
I would suggest that, if you would have, unexpected weather and you wanted to move the class into the house, that's not going to happen too often. So if you have 10 or 12 people inside the house, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. It's kind of akin to having a big family dinner. It doesn't happen too often. And if something were to happen, everybody, I'm sure, would be okay to get out. I would say as long as it's not a, every week situation, then again, if it is once a week or a couple of times a week, she's probably going to be looking for another facility.
Yeah.
because business was good.
Yeah.
So I really don't have a problem with the interior stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the board at this time? All right, this is a public meeting. If you are in the audience and you would like to ask a question or have a comment, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, it is *9 to raise your hand, and then *6 to unmute. Okay, I don't see anyone with their hand raised. Anyone else with any other final comments or questions from the board or staff? Nope. Okay.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Okay, Jeff made a motion to close. Fran seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Jeff?
Yes.
Fran?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Susie?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Okay, thank you very much. We'll have a decision
Thank you,
later on
everyone.
tonight.
Great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
All right. All right. So the next case is to consider the petition of Lexus of Northborough for a 6-month extension of the Zoning Board of Appeals variance decision 19-17 and amend the previous variance ZBA case 02-06 regarding the proposed Lexus site improvement project. The applicant seeks to eliminate 1,157 square feet building addition, allow a maximum of 191 parking spaces, upgrade the existing wall sign package for the Lexus dealership located at 14 Belmont Street, map 109, parcel 28 in the Highway Business District. Okay. Lori or Jim, do you know who the representative for the petitioner is for this evening? It says Mitch Cook is the name of the petitioner.
Mitch Cook, but the point of contact that we've been dealing with is Daniel, gosh, what's his last name?
Allen? Daniel Allen?
Yes.
All right.
Mitch Cook is the owner of the property, I believe. Well,
All right, so
Mhm.
So Dan, if you're on, I made you a panelist. You should be, there we go.
Evening,
Hi, Dan.
that thing I hit the wrong link and then that's that. But Dan Allen, work with Polar Engineering, here representing the applicant tonight, involving the project at the Lexus dealership at 14 Belmont Street. This project was previously appeared before the zoning board back in 2019 for a special permit and variance. Shortly after that approval, COVID kind of hit and kind of hit into construction kind of stopped and everything. The project kind of put on hold. It's now since picked back up and we're hoping to go to construction in August. We previously received a variance, as Paul mentioned, for the parking, the maximum amount of parking, as well as some wall signage. This variance is set to expire at the end of the month here, so we just wanted to kind of keep it active and everything ahead of construction. There's been some minor changes to the scope of work kind of involved. If I could share my screen here to kind of explain that to you guys. Is that coming in clearly? Just to kind of review the previously proposed site plan, as some of you may recall, they originally had proposed some building improvements to renovate, kind of modernize the exterior and interior of the building. As part of that, they had a 1,600 square foot expansion of the showroom. And with kind of this expansion, there were some 4 ADA stalls over here, and they were proposed to relocate it onto this side of the building to accommodate that. This building work is no longer moving forward. So the new site plan, as you can see here, they'll be maintaining those existing 4 parking spaces. And there's really not much other site work proposed other than some additional wayfinding signage, which came up with some comments during entitlements to provide, as well as some wayfinding striping directing customers coming into the service area or customer parking. Additionally, just with the only other additional site item is that they're looking to install some electrical vehicle chargers at a future date. It won't be completed with the building work, but it was something they're going to be considering in the future. And we wanted to just point that out here, that they'll be providing some infrastructure to 2 charging stations in the rear corner, and then they're proposing 2 along the building here. Kind of as a result of the site changes, we've previously been approved for a total of 190 spaces max, and with no changes being proposed anymore, we're just maintaining the 191 existing spaces and just are hoping to update the approval to reflect that. Relative to the building elevations and some of it, it's really a minor change. This is the original layout. You see they're proposing 3 signs, 1 Lexus of Northborough, 1 Lexus logo, and 1 service sign here. The new plans, really, the only real change is this Lexus of Northborough sign is shifting about 30 feet on the front of the building. So it's going to be the same signage out there, and really not much different than what was previously approved. I think that's really about it. Happy to open up to any questions you guys have.
Okay, I guess, Lori, if we could just start with you and just your comments on just the project and recommendations.
Sure.
That's okay.
I did not have any issues with these proposed changes. The one clarification that I wanted to make is originally this came in as a variance extension. However, I'm hoping that you will also approve the minor modifications to the special permits and the site plan to reflect the addition of 1 parking space, because originally the application only provided for 190 parking spaces, and with this change, it would be 191, as well as the elimination of the 1,157 square foot building addition and the change in layout and configuration of the parking spaces. So I put that in my written comments to you. I just wanted to make sure that those things were addressed and that you weren't just going to vote on the variance aspect of it, that you would also vote on the minor modifications to the special permit and the site plan review. So we wouldn't have to have him come back to address those issues.
Okay. And is the modification of the special permit and site plan approval also included in that case 1917?
It was, yes.
So it's essentially what you're asking for is an extension of the variance for 1917 with the two adjustments in the parking spaces, and then the elimination of the building addition.
Yes, the issue, so all of those approvals were encompassed in a single decision back in 2019. The difference is that the variance expires 1 year prior to the special permit. So even though the special permit aspect of the decision is still good, the variance aspect expires. So it's a little bit confusing since they're all wrapped into a single decision.
Okay. Thank you. Bob, do you have any comments or about this, or?
The only comment I really had was that the fact that Laurie wasn't here when this first went through, excuse me, a few years ago. And if I remember right, it went through with some discussion, but it wasn't contentious by any means. So it went through the first time without too much of a hitch. Knowing that they're coming back and they're actually reducing the scope that was originally approved, I really see no issue for it. And I think the comments that Laurie made are quite appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone from the board have any questions or comments? Jeff, I think your hand is up.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. So the special permit is 2 years. The variance, was there an original variance and has that already expired and we have to extend that?
So the variance is actually expiring, I think it was yesterday, May 22nd. So it was only good for a year, but then it was granted an additional extension because of the COVID provisions. So if I remember correctly, it was supposed to, Dan, certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but was it May 22nd yesterday?
Yes, I
Or
believe it
2
was
days ago.
the 31st, it was set to expire.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Right. But the special permit, if you look in the zoning bylaws, special permits expire within a 2-year time frame. So there's still sufficient time. They are planning on beginning construction in August. So they shouldn't have any issues with the time frame for the special permit. Once they start construction, then they're good.
Thank you. I'm in favor of it. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a T that had to be crossed or I dotted.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Does anyone else from the board have any questions? Fran?
What, I don't remember specific, is this the property that actually is partly in Westboro and partly in Northborough? No? Okay, that's not what that line is? Okay, all right, thank you, then I have no questions.
The Honda dealership has property in both towns, but from what I can tell, the Lexus of Northborough is entirely in Northborough.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else on the board have any questions? Sorry if I can't see your hand. All right, this is a public hearing. If you are in the audience and want to ask a question or raise your hand, please, if you're on your phone, *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. I don't see anyone with their hand raised. Does anyone else have any other questions or final comments? If you do, just shout it out. Okay. I don't really have anything else.
I move that we close the hearing.
Second.
All right, Mark made a motion to close the hearing. Jeff seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Mark?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Fran?
Aye.
Susie?
Aye.
And I am an I as well. Okay. Thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know which case you guys want to start with, whether it's this one or
Let's
Winter
go with
Street.
62 Winter. Should be fast and easy.
Yep. Mark, you want to start?
Okay. You know, she's setting up a home business. She doesn't have everything figured out, but I think she has the best of intentions of figuring it out in a positive way. I also think that she has control of the size of the business for what it is. And as our building inspector has pointed out, if the business grows explosively, she'll be looking for a new facility anyway. So I think this is once again, not a detriment to the neighborhood. She doesn't look to be scheduling classes at 6 a.m. sunrise or anything that would be impacting the neighbors too badly.
So I think the only condition I had was to prohibit on-street parking, but do you also want to prohibit or allow limit the hours of operation as well, or is that something?
I don't think it's necessary for this type of business, personally.
Okay. Susie, you have your hand up.
I agree with what Mark said. She was, you know, the things that she's not sure about, she was looking for us for guidance, and she has a great plan set up in the scheduling and the parking aspect of the scheduling, which I would have never thought of doing online. I think it would be a plus for Northborough. And I agree with Bob too, that she can always move to a different place should she need to.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Chair, the only other
Yep.
condition is that from the groundwater advisory that there's no expansion to the driveway or the building.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have any other comments or questions? All right.
No.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we grant a special permit for 62 Winter Street to allow the at-home business of a yoga studio to operate with the restriction that there'll be no allowed on-street parking.
And the groundwater restriction.
And no expansion of either the driveway or the building.
Second.
Mark made a motion and Jeff seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Mark?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Fran?
Aye.
Susie?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Okay, great. Thank you. 14 Belmont Street. So I guess from a timing perspective, Lori, do you think the extension, if the variance expires on 5/31, does the decision have to be signed within the next like 7 days? Is that how it would work, or?
Ideally, the decision would be approved prior to the expiration of the variance.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions about this case, which is basically, in addition to being an extension of the variance 1917 that was approved in 2019, changing the number of parking spaces allowed from 190 to 191, so a delta of 1. And then the elimination of the building addition of 1,157 square feet.
As well
Anyone
as
else?
shifting the location of the wall sign 30 feet.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments about
I just
about
want,
this?
Mr. Chair, I think Mark just lost connectivity.
You're right, he did. Okay. No, I don't think he lost power, but
He's back, I think.
He's coming
He just
back.
popped back up.
I see you coming back, yeah.
hey, Mark. Yeah, so we didn't really discuss anything else. We have the 3 adjustments to the extension of the variance. Does anyone have any other questions or comments about this case?
Yeah. If I may.
Yep. Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
I remember in the past when we approved this, initially, there was the big thing was the signage on the front of the building, and that our feeling is it's on Route 9. It's a big area. You need big signage, and also they know how to run their business as far as making it attractive and not too intrusive on Route 9. We felt that it was still in good taste. So continuing this variance and special permit just seems very reasonable. They're not asking for anything more.
Okay. Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
I agree with Mark. I think the changes are relatively minor and the scope is a little bit less. So we approved it before. I would support approving it again.
Yeah, I guess Fran, go ahead.
Just one question. If we grant 6 months and they can't get it done, are they allowed to ask for another 6 months?
I believe they just have to get started, don't they?
Okay.
Yeah, they pretty much just have to put a shovel in the ground and get started within the 6-month period of time. But if it can't happen, then certainly they're welcome to come back and ask for another extension.
I was just wondering whether we would extend it beyond 6 months if they would not be able to, but that's fine. Thank you.
Right, and I guess they were fine, but I mean, 6 months was communicated prior in advance of this meeting, and I didn't hear anything from the applicant that said that 6 months wasn't going to be doable.
Mm-hmm.
So, does anyone else have any other comments or questions? If not, we can entertain a motion.
If I may.
Mark, go ahead.
I move that we grant both the special permit and the variance with the modifications for the property at 14 Belmont Street.
Second.
If you could just specify the time in the motion, the 6-month extension, or if you want a different period of time, that'd be helpful.
I would tend to grant them a year extension just because, I'd like to delay them coming back if something happened in the fall and they couldn't get started in the spring.
I'll second that.
Yeah. So I would grant it up to a year.
Okay. Mark made a motion. Jeff seconded the motion. Are there any other discussion points about the adjustment from 6 months to a year? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Mark?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Fran? Fran?
Oh, I thought I said aye. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you. Susie?
Hi.
And I am an aye as well. Okay. I think, do we? Are there, did we get minutes from our March meeting? Is that the only thing that we have left to do or to look at?
Yes, I believe those were sent out. It was the meeting from March 22nd.
Okay. Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes from March or to rewatch the video?
I did. I move that we accept the minutes from March 22nd, 2022 meeting as submitted.
I'll second.
All right, so Fran made a motion to approve the March 22nd, 22 minutes, and I believe Susie seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Fran?
Aye.
Susie?
I think that was my first seconding the motion.
Mark?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay, the next thing item on the agenda is just our next meeting, which is June 21st of 2022. And I guess the one question I would have for the board is your thoughts on potentially resuming meetings at 7 o'clock as opposed to 6 o'clock. I believe historically our meetings have always been at 7 when we were in person. And I'm not sure if we're going to be in person for a while, but I think with some people going back to work, not in Northborough, and with activities after school, I just wanted to sort of gauge people's opinions on pushing back the start time from 6 to 7 starting next month. Fran?
Well, you read my mind. I was going to ask if we could do that because my indigestion is pretty bad when we have to meet at 6 and you have to get home from work. So I would be fine with 7.
Okay. Susie, I think your hand is raised.
I'm sitting in a soccer parking lot right now in the minivan, so I'd be all for moving it to 7. If I could, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay.
I vote yes.
Okay. I don't think we need to necessarily take a vote. I think we could just, Brad doesn't get a chance to make an argument since he left early anyway. So I guess for next month, we can start meeting at 7. Obviously, if we get 15 cases, which Lori, I don't know if you know how many cases are on the docket for next month, but assuming that there's not more than, I don't know, 10.
I believe we have three scheduled already for the next meeting. So
okay, great.
It's gotten very busy lately.
Okay, that's good. So then, yeah, I guess for next month, then we can just have our meeting scheduled for 7 o'clock on the 21st of June, and then go at 7 o'clock from that point forward, if that's okay.
Okay.
Bob, sorry.
Just a point. I know there's a lot of activity typically before a ZBA meeting, like the Monday before. But we have June 20th off as town hall employees for Juneteenth. So plan your schedules accordingly, because I know there's a lot of stuff that goes on the day before a meeting. Nobody's going to be here. Just to keep you posted.
Okay. Lori, yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk to you folks about possibly changing the format of decisions going forward. One thing that kind of has been anomaly, something I'm not used to when I came to Northborough is the inclusion of the minutes in the decision. I was wondering if you folks would be open to removing that dialogue from the decision. Certainly folks who are interested in hearing what happens at the minutes, at the meetings, can refer to the meeting minutes, which are, of course, the real kind of narrative as to what happens at the meeting. So that way we can expedite the decisions, the turnaround on the decisions. We don't have to wait until the meeting minutes are done first before we're doing the decisions and getting those approved. So in the case of the 14 Belmont Street, that would be particularly helpful. Is that something you folks would be interested in? Also make for shorter decisions.
I guess I would say I would be fine with that. I think it's probably more noise than anything, just in terms of adding what people's comments were about or questions in terms of things that we were either confirming or trying to get points of clarification for, whether or not that's even pertinent for a decision, or whether that's pertinent to be included in the decision. And like you said, we have minutes, there are YouTube videos if everyone needs to watch our meetings. So I don't really have a concern with it. I don't know what anyone else thinks, but I guess that's my original or initial assessment. Jeff, yeah.
I agree. I think it's a very good idea that the public record will be still available, but the decision will be just about the decision. So, and I think having the ability to get it out sooner helps everybody.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I would also be in favor.
So I guess Michelle just sent an email saying that the June meeting is on the 28th. So it's not the 21st. So just a point of clarification there. Our next meeting is on June 28th. Sorry about that, Bob. It's the 4th Tuesday, because the 1st is a Wednesday.
That's
so
okay.
there you go. Solve your problem.
Then you can be as busy as you want on Monday.
Okay, great. Okay. Does anyone else have anything else? Fran? Yep.
Sure, we don't need to do anything with the very large packet that was mailed to each of us regarding the Lawrence Street property. I assume I wasn't the only person that got it.
Yeah, I got it as well.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything else.
Okay.
It looked to me like saber rattling. I mean,
I just meant from Lori, we don't have to do anything. It's being taken care of. The appeal of the Lawrence Street.
you're muted, Laura.
Lori, I think you're still muted.
You're
Sorry.
muted.
Yep, still muted.
My dog just grabbed a bag of potato chips and my daughter was rustling it out of his mouth. So I missed all of it.
So I think Fran was just asking about the appeal from Lawrence Street and whether or not there was anything that this board needed to do or address.
I am not aware of any action items for you folks at this time,
Okay.
but I will definitely let you know if there's something that I need from you.
Okay, great.
Was-
So
did that just get
next meeting
called?
is. Sorry. Yep. Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Was that just sent to the voting members, or have they not figured out where I live now? I didn't get it. That's okay.
I
Just let me know. I'll hand deliver it to you, Jeff. Okay. I don't have anything else. If anyone else has anything.
I
Floor
move
is
to
yours.
adjourn.
Second,
All right, Jeff made a motion to adjourn. Mark seconded. Roll call vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Mark,
aye.
Fran,
Aye.
Susie, is she still on?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. We'll see you guys next month at 7 p.m.
7.
on the 28th.
Good night, everyone.
Job, Mr. Chair.
Bye.